Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Burr Sullivan, Chair of the State Board of the North Carolina Community Colleges, and I welcome all of you to this event. Today, we look to the future of North Carolina's economy and our quality of life, and we see Carolina blue skies over all of our landscape. The North Carolina Community Colleges, the Great 58 as we call them, are the economic engine for our state. Their future is getting even stronger today as we welcome a new system president, Dr. Jeff Cox. Dr. Cox has spent his entire adult life, 30 years, preparing for this moment. And his career has been spent exclusively in North Carolina public education, where he has excelled in every role that he has held. He is ready for the challenges of today and the years just ahead. We're very happy today to be joined in this very room by partners important to our success. And Dr. Cox is a known quantity to all of our partners, those in state government, at DPI, at the UNC system, the Association of Private Colleges and Universities, at the Belk Center for Community College Leadership at NC State, and the list goes on. He is well regarded by philanthropic organizations such as the State Community College Foundation, the John M. Belk Endowment, the Lumina Foundation, and many others across the state. Very importantly, I will note with a lot of confidence that Dr. Cox is a leader among his peers and currently serves as the president of the North Carolina Community College Presidents Association. As such, he is in the best possible position to lead our local presidents, some of which are here today, toward a moment of greater collaboration as we address regional workforce training needs across our footprint. He is also well regarded by the 700 plus local community college trustees, and their leaders are here today to show their support. Dr. Cox will prove to be a transformative leader as we work toward meeting the goals set by our state and the My Future NC organization. That goal is known to all of you, 2 million workers with a certificate of value or a college degree by the year 2030. And I'm so pleased that the leader of that organization, Cecilia Holder, is in this room to show her support. The excitement of being the #1 state for business is felt all across our footprint. And I want to personally thank Governor Cooper, Senator Berger, Speaker Moore, the Commerce Department, and Chris Chung from the North Carolina Economic Development Partnership, along with our many educational partners, for intentionally making the successful economic development program a bipartisan effort. That is a model that we should all be proud of. I will note parenthetically, this state has about 2.5 million Democrats, 2.5 million Republicans, and 2.5 million independents. They want us to be working together, and we are. Without further delay, I am so pleased to welcome to the podium the 75th Governor of North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, everybody. Chair Sullivan, thank you for your leadership of this great State Community College Board. Very grateful for the hard work that it takes to find the right person to lead this system. And I see a number of the trustees here and grateful for your service in this process. I see Representative Elmore from Wilkes County there. You got the all-star race at the Speedway, and now you got the community college president. Wilkes County gets everything now, right? Is that the we want more, of course you do.
Not to mention Merle Fest this week.
At Merle Fest, how could I forget Merle Fest? Oh my goodness. And that's right, you got to get back and get to work on that.
A little bit.
I know you do. Okay. Grateful to see so many leaders across North Carolina from all walks of life, from our business community, from our public schools, from our universities, independent and public. Grateful to have you here because you know how important this is. We're known throughout this country as having the best community college system anywhere. Every person lives within 30 minutes of a community college. Often, a community college is the center of a community. Things revolve around it because they are so central to the success of so many people across North Carolina. And one of the great things about our community college system is that it has adapted to the rapid changes in workforce training and development and education that we desperately need. What kind of job are they doing? We've set a record number of jobs over the last few years coming to our state, bringing advanced manufacturing and new kinds of jobs. So it's been more important than ever for our community colleges to adapt to this new kind of job that we are creating in our state. We know that they're there to provide tailored workforce training, often early in an economic development process when the company doesn't want to know that they're talking to North Carolina and they start talking to our economic development partnership, they start talking to our commerce, they start talking to our office, and they want to know about workforce training. The top three things that CEOs are interested in these days are workforce, workforce, and workforce. And they want to know, can you provide this training? And often it is an integral part of whatever kind of package that we would offer a company to come to North Carolina. And when we think about community colleges, the success is so important because it's a cost-effective way for people to get a certification or a degree that then can get them a better paying job. And it's often become a cost-effective way for people to get 4-year degrees, doing 2 years in a community college first at a lower cost and going on to get 2 more years at a 4-year. So we know how critical these colleges are across North Carolina. We are grateful for the work that they are doing. And now it's more important than ever to be seamless. I'm going to introduce the superintendent of public instruction, but we know right now that our high schools and our community colleges have to work just like this. And the guy that the board has hired knows it all. I mean, he's a teacher, he's a principal, he was a superintendent, and well respected at all of those jobs. And now he's one of the best community college presidents in our state. And it makes sense that this board decided that he should lead this community college system into the future. I'm excited about your tenure, Jeff. I know that one of the great things that we have, you mentioned bipartisanship, Burr. One of the great things that we've seen from our economic development in our community college system has been extraordinary bipartisanship, because we all know how important it is for families to have good paying jobs. And we coordinated our economic development and our community colleges with that. So I'm proud to be here with you to congratulate you today, Jeff. And I want to introduce to you now our Superintendent of Public Instruction for K through 12 schools in North Carolina, who is working closely with our community colleges, Catherine Truitt. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you so much, Governor, and thank you, Chair Sullivan, for the invitation to be here with you today, and congratulations to Dr. Cox. This is an incredibly exciting time for those of us in the K-12 space because workforce development starts with K-12 education. And Governor, you had the term right. The word of the day is seamless. We are going to be able to do this seamlessly because the board hired the best person for the job. So, as has been said, you have spent your entire adult life in education. You are uniquely prepared for this role because you have been a local superintendent and a local community college president, and so you understand what it takes to have that seamless integration. So the education continuum will be at the forefront of our partnership, absolutely. Jeff, what I love about you is that you know how to meet students where they are, and you know how to do this because of your time in K-12 education and at the community college level, and that is going to be crucial to leading your peers across the community college Great 58. The way that you have been a part of student success is helping them to find and stay on a path to success. And I know that students all over our state are going to benefit from your expertise in that area. With the rapidly changing workforce that has been mentioned, you are going to ensure that your students, whoever they are, whether they are 18 coming out of high school or adults returning to get a degree or a credential, will be equipped to participate in our 21st century workforce and economy. And as the leader of the K-12 system, I can say with confidence that our community college system is integral to achieving the state's education attainment goal. Thank you, Cecilia Holden, for being here today. Our legislated goal that the EDP&C and Chris Chung's leadership is such a critical partner in reaching our 2 million by 2030. We have to make sure that while we continue to be a place that people want to come and live, folks come here from other states, we have to make sure that we're educating the people who live in North Carolina. And you are going to be instrumental in helping us reach that goal. So I look forward to working alongside you, Dr. Cox. We will be in lockstep, and I have no doubt that we will continue to open doors to high-quality education opportunities to all who want them. Congratulations.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Christopher Chung with the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. First off, congratulations, Dr. Cox, on not just a big day, but as you said, with Merle Fest, a very, very big week for you coming up. Perhaps because our state's official hockey team is on a great start to the Stanley Cup race, and because I know of no bigger hockey fan than the governor himself, I thought a hockey metaphor might be appropriate to celebrate today's occasion. If you don't know the story, it's a pretty fairly cited business metaphor. Wayne Gretzky was once asked, "Why are you such a great hockey player?" And his answer was, "Well, I don't skate to where the puck is, I skate to where I think it's going." And the whole point of the metaphor is to speak to the anticipation of the future. Now, any of you community college presidents especially know that training workers for the jobs that are available today in this moment, the tens of thousands of openings that companies are seeking to fill, thanks to the work that the governor and General Assembly have done to attract these jobs here to the state, that is itself a fairly daunting challenge in and of itself. Even more challenging, of course, is figuring out where industry is taking us, where technology is taking us, and what that means in terms of the jobs and the necessary skill sets of tomorrow. And what the community college system can do, working across all 58 colleges under Dr. Cox's leadership, is figure out what degree programs do we need to establish, what curriculum do we need to develop, what credentials and certificate-based learning do we need to establish, so that not only are we prepared to help North Carolinians rise rise to the job needs of today, but that 5, 10, 25 years down the road, we continue to produce the kinds of talent that our companies depend on us for as they choose this state as a place to invest. And by working together, not just with Superintendent Truitt and the power of our K through 12 instruction system, but also our 4-year colleges, our private and public universities and colleges, everyone working together towards that point that the governor said, workforce, 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 we can hopefully continue to dominate the other states that we go up against every day. We get that privilege of getting calls every day with companies that are looking at where their future growth will happen. And so far, it's been a pretty easy case to sell North Carolina as the best place for them to choose. We're all optimistic and hopeful that under Dr. Cox's leadership, it's just going to be an even more insurmountable advantage as other states try to catch up with us. So we look forward to teaming up with you and your team. We know that you have a big role to fill Bruce Mack's position as soon as you get in the door. That's one of our most important partners. But look forward to bringing you and your team to the table as we all continue working together to get the jobs and investment of tomorrow. So congratulations again, and I'll hand it back to Burr. Thank you very much.
I think everyone in the audience already has the picture on why Jeff Cox was the choice for our board to lead this great system. So I don't need to elaborate on that. But before Dr. Cox comes up and gives you his remarks and his vision, I want to take a moment of personal privilege to recognize a friend of mine that mentored Jeff Cox when he was a beginning teacher back in the 90s. And that's Dr. Suzanne Irwin. She's sitting right here on the second row. And she was the superintendent of schools in Allegheny County when Jeff was a young teacher. She saw something in Jeff at that time that he may not have even seen. And she got him aside and told him about a new program over at Appalachian State that would train him to be in administration. And she was teaching part of that program in addition to being the superintendent in Allegheny County. She was teaching at Appalachian. And it wasn't too long before Jeff got his master's degree, and it wasn't too long before he got his doctorate. And he got to follow his mentor and become superintendent of Allegheny County Schools himself. Suzanne and her husband, Bobby, that serves on the state board with me, he's a beginner. He's only served 12 years on our board. Drove 350 miles round trip to recognize and congratulate Jeff Cox. So without any more delay, I'll introduce and congratulate our new system president, Dr. Jeff Cox.
Mr. Chairman, that was off script, and it should not be your goal to make the assistant president cry on the very first day he's recognized, but it's an emotional story there, Dr. Irwin, but thank you for being here, truly. I want to open up today just thanking the state board for giving me this opportunity, just a tremendous opportunity to lead this wonderful community college system. I can promise you, growing up as a kid in rural Allegheny County, I could never have thought that one day I'd be a college president, and I sure never thought I'd be here in front of this illustrious audience, taking on this honor of being selected as a leader of our community college system. It is quite overwhelming. Before I go any further, I want to acknowledge my lovely wife, Reba, here in the front row. I literally wouldn't be here without her support for the last 25 plus years of our marriage. So, Reba, thank you. Yeah, please, thank you. And she is bravely coming along with me on this adventure here to the big city, and we're looking forward to it. We've been spending the whole weekend looking around places, and we're excited about the opportunity. I just want to say I think it does send a strong message to our entire state to have someone to lead our community college system who was born and raised in North Carolina, who is a product of our K-12 public schools and our public universities, and who has given the last 30 years of his life to the educational system in North Carolina. So if I don't do well, it won't be because I haven't been well trained and well educated, and with a lot of great people over the years. It is an exciting time to be in North Carolina. We've heard with all the great comments that have been made, I could just say ditto and sit down and save you all 10 or 15 minutes here of your lives. But it's a great time to be in North Carolina. Gosh, what excitement we have with the economic vitality of our state. Tremendous opportunity for all of our citizens. Yes, we have some challenges ahead, but the opportunity is much greater than the challenges, in my opinion. I want to take a quick moment to thank my Wilkes Community College Board of Trustees, our leadership team there, our larger community college community. I can tell you any success I've had as a college president there in Wilkes, and my college president colleagues will acknowledge this too, it's because of the teams that you have around you. None of us get where we are on our own, and that'll certainly be the case in this role. I'll come in and do the best work I can do, but the best work I can do is to build teams. The system office team, our collaborative teams with different partners, our partnerships with our governor, our legislature, our economic development partners, K-12 partners, it goes on and on and on. Philanthropic partners will only be as strong as we are working together. The Wilkes Community College community has rallied around, and for 9 years we've been working together to solve some big problems there, taking on real challenges. I'm beyond excited to be here and get ready to roll up my sleeves and go to work with this board and the great 58 presidents, our legislature, the governor, all our business and industry partners, and again, so many key stakeholder groups, I can't really name them all. It's been acknowledged that our legislature, our governor, and our EDC partners, they have done a tremendous job of setting the conditions to make our state #1 in the country for business. I'm confident that working together collaboratively, as we will make sure that our community college system stays #1 in the country, and that we develop the #1 workforce in the country. If we're going to stay #1 in business, it's only going to be because we figured out how to continue to bridge that gap into the future and make sure we're delivering to those businesses and industries the workforce they need to survive and prosper in our great state. And I'm confident we can do that. There's never been a more exciting time to be here in our state with all the economic opportunity that we're talking about. But the truth is there's another reality, and we've got to look at this one head on as well. Across most of the southeastern United States and across much of our great state, if you're born poor, there's a 2 out of 3 chance you're going to stay poor. I think our community colleges are at the very heart of changing that statistic and reversing that. We've got businesses and industries who are yearning to have qualified employees. And we've got folks who are living in poverty who are yearning for a better tomorrow. And our community colleges are the bridge between those two. Absolutely, we have to be that bridge, and we can. We've got about 30 to 40% of our high school graduates who regrettably are not pursuing any kind of post-secondary education. That's a crisis. You think about that. Three or 4 out of every 10 are just not pursuing a post-secondary degree. We know that 7 out of 10 jobs in the new economy require some kind of post-secondary degree. Not necessarily a 4-year degree, maybe not even a 2-year degree, but something beyond high school. Again, we have to find a better way to connect with those young people and help them understand their economic vitality depends on them getting that post-secondary credential. We've got to build that bridge for those students. I think the path to do that is a stronger, more robust partnership with those businesses and industries. It's in their interest to support that work. That's their workforce. And either they're going to be skilled and trained and have all the talent that they need to come in and be successful, or they're not. So it's in all of our interest, in the interest of the state, to work together and again, build those bridges between the folks who are looking for a better tomorrow and the businesses and industries who need them to come in and join their companies. I'll just say a couple things about the impact of our community college system. As president of the President's Association, I've had the opportunity for the last several months to come to our state board meetings, and I have, at the end of my comments, I always share a student success story. And that's gotten to be, I think, it's something the board has enjoyed because it focuses us back on what's important, and that's our students. And I think in this role, that's going to be something I'm going to continue to come back to with all the great 58 community colleges, with our board, with our legislature, with the governor, with all of our partners. It comes down to our students. So I just want to share quickly one of those stories that I shared with the state board. As you've heard, I had the opportunity to be a K-12 superintendent before, for almost 9 years before taking on this role. My current role is president at Wilkes Community College for now almost 9 years. Early during my tenure at Allegheny, I met this young elementary school student who was just an adorable young lady, very vivacious, but she came from a single mother, single parent home, some economic challenges. But I was there and kind of watched her grow up, and I was there when she graduated from 8th grade from Piney Creek Elementary School. And then I was there when she graduated from Allegheny High School as superintendent, still on the stage there, got to participate in that ceremony. And then she and I both transitioned to Wilkes Community College. She entered our nursing program, and of course I took on the role of president. So 2 years later, I got to be part of giving her third diploma. This one was her nursing degree. She came up to me after the ceremony and said, Dr. Cox, she said, I just want to tell you, I just never imagined I could have this kind of life. She said, I thought the best I was going to be able to do would be to be a waitress in their local Mexican restaurant. She said, but the scholarships that the Education Foundation provided to her gave her just enough help to think about going to college. And so I think about that story, and I think, how many of those examples are out there in our great state? Monica now graduated nursing school, and she's back in Allegheny County serving as a nurse in the local hospital where she grew up, living her best life. I think she has 2 kids now, married, doing great, living the American dream. That's what community colleges do, folks. That's the role we play. We find people where they are and take them as far as they can go. That's what it's about. That's the work that I intend on doing with all of our partners, including our elected leaders here in Raleigh. And I'm going to close out. I want to close out my remarks with this way. So we have to be willing to think differently to embrace our role in preparing students to take their place in the new economy. How do we give them that initial short-term credential, but also keep the door open if they want to complete a 2-year degree or 4-year degree so they can keep advancing in their career? How do we marshal the resources necessary to hire the instructors that we're going to need to teach our future nurses, manufacturing supervisors, IT professionals, on and on and on? How do we develop public-private partnerships to make sure that our students are learning on state-of-the-art equipment, the very equipment they're going to be working on when they get out into business and industry? We can't teach them on 20-year-old equipment and then put them out into a workforce on cutting-edge technology. That stuff's expensive. It's really expensive. How do we marshal the right resources between public and private, business, industry, government? How do we put it together to make it possible? How do we make sure that we're engaging all of North Carolina in this new era of economic prosperity? How do we change that statistic from a 2 out of 3 chance of staying poor to a 2 out of 3 chance of climbing out of poverty? That needs to be our state's legacy. And our community colleges can help do that work. The long-term success of our state depends on the ability of all of us here in this room and all the other stakeholders out there across North Carolina to answer these questions, and I'm confident we can do just that. So I will wrap up my comments. I thank you all for being here. I thought about trying to call out all the folks in the room, but all the really important people. But that'd be every single person in this room, and we just don't have time for that. But thank you all so much for being here. It means more to me than I can tell you. So I think we're going to pause, and I think we're going to take some questions for the whole panel, me or all these folks up here.
Mr. Cox.
Yes.
Gary Robertson with Associated Press. Obviously, you've been following what was going on in the legislature last week about the governance bill, but there were some criticisms made by a couple senators that perhaps some campuses were falling short in terms of being able to help companies that want to come to their area, find qualified and experienced and skilled employees. And I wonder what you thought about that, whether those were legitimate critiques by the legislature.
Well, I'm not really familiar with the exact nature of the critiques or which colleges. I would just say that for all of us, for every single college, and for us at the system, we've got to double down on our efforts to make sure that that's not a legitimate criticism. If it is, we got to change that. So we need every single community college across the great 58 to be connected with the businesses and industries in their service area. Every single business and industry in this state has a community college that they can be partnering with within half an hour or wherever their business is. If we're not doing it well in every single community across the state, then we need to know where we're coming up short and how we can fix it. We've got great presidents out there leading the 58. I know most of them pretty well, and I know their hearts are in it to fix it in their communities. So that's what I would say. We're not perfect, but I've got faith that we can get it right with our business and industry. Yes, Emily.
Can you paint a picture of what you see as your first 100 days as president of the system?
Well, first 100 days, yeah. Yeah. No, it's I think the target right out of the gate is business and industry. We've got a couple of positions here that you referenced one of them around workforce. One of our VPs is transitioning. He's played a big role in workforce across the state. So I think, within the first, immediately upon getting here, Emily, I think sorting out what's the staffing here at the system office, where are those critical positions that we really need to be working on filling, and honestly, we'll be working some on that even in transition as we work toward that. That's a critical piece of it, though. We've got to do we do a great job at the individual college level engaging with business and industry. And because I haven't been in the system office, I don't know to what extent that kind of engagement is happening across the state. But I'm pledging to our businesses and industries out there, whatever it's been, we're going to ramp it up further. We've got to really engage with business and industry. We need their support. Our students, our graduates coming out of all of our programs need business and industry to be engaged with us. So, job one is going to be coming in and really taking a hard look at that and figuring out how do we make sure we're doing everything we can to ramp up on the workforce, the short-term credentials. I think, again, partnerships, beginning to think about reaching out to all of our key partners, whether it's our K-12 partners, our university partners, our philanthropic partners. How do we begin to build a coalition of support around the work? We've got a lot of really smart people here in the system office and across the great 58. But we want to accomplish the real vision that we're talking about for North Carolina if we can't build a really strong coalition. So a whole lot of this in the first 100 days for me is relationship building, getting out, meeting people, hearing what their vision for the future is. I assume that might be one of the questions. What's my vision? And truly, my leadership style is I've got a vision. I've got some ideas of things that I think we might need to do. But I've found success over the years by getting the stakeholders in the room and developing a shared vision. If we're all together on what the vision is, then guess what? Everybody's going to work to support that vision. It's not just my vision, it's our vision that we'll co-develop. So thank you for that.
At the recent board meeting, you said that the President's Association had both positives and concerns with the governance bill. Can you talk about what some of the pros and cons are and, as you've seen it as a president?
Yeah, so I'm not going to dig too deeply into any of the proposed legislation. I would just say this, that in every organization I've worked in education, there's always a give and take in the governance structure, and how much should be locally controlled, how much should be controlled, at a state level, even between boards and superintendents, as I was one for many years. What's the superintendent's realm? What's the board's role? So I think there's a natural kind of conversation that we need to have around this issue. It's certainly bubbled up recently, and there's a lot of talk about that. Any bill that's proposed takes a long way to become law, and there's opportunity for a lot of discussion. And so my hope is at the local level and here at the state level, we can engage with our legislators and our governor to talk about what's the best governance model overall look like. So I think our presidents are open-minded about that and willing to engage in those kind of conversations.
Got time for two more. Any others?
Yes, sir.
At Wilkes, you've seen just an amazing increase in completion rates.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned philanthropic support a couple of times. You've had amazing philanthropic support there from the Herring Family Foundation and other former Lowe's execs. So how replicable do you think that is across the system?
That's a great question. So for those in the back who might not have heard, I won't mind repeating your premise because it allows me to brag on my college. So he was saying we've had a lot of success at Wilkes. We've over the last 5 years, we've more than doubled the completion rate for our students from 25% to 55%. And how we've gotten a lot of philanthropic support in the community to support that work to help us do that. So the question was how much is that? How much can we replicate that at the state level, really? So that's a question that's been on my mind for sure. And the truth is, I think a lot of it can be replicated. We had a new strategic plan and had a lot of stakeholders engaged in the community, 200 plus people actively involved, and thousands of people through surveys and other forums involved. And again, it was about creating a shared vision and how do we partner together. And what we figured out pretty quickly was there wasn't a silver bullet. It'd be great if there was one thing we could have changed. But what we figured out was there was like 20 things that we needed to tweak and change. And so we started looking for support to do those different things, like totally revamping our advising model. We got a local family foundation to give us $1 million grant to totally revise and revamp how we're doing advising. That was a big key. We decided we want to put a career coach in every high school in our service area. We got another philanthropic organization there in the community to give us a $1.2 million grant to do that work. That same family has come back, by the way, now for about 3 or 4 years and given additional $250,000 gifts because they're so pleased with the outcomes from that program. We decided we wanted to be able to access that 40% of students who weren't going anywhere, and for a lot of them, it was an economic barrier to get in, even as affordable as our community colleges are. So we went to work locally and said we want to do our own education promise scholarship to add on to the work that the governor's done with the scholarships at the state level. So we raised $9 million, over $9 million locally to endow that scholarship. Now every kid in Wilkes, Ashland, and Allegheny counties can go to school 2 years through the community college tuition free. So the question is, it is a little bit mind-boggling for me to think about the scale of that. A little bitty Wilkes County raised about $20 million or so to fund that strategic plan and about a dozen different key initiatives. And I started doing the mental math on what does that look like across the whole state. And it's a big number, but there's a lot more resources across the state. So if you think about it community by community, everybody doesn't have those great philanthropic partners that we had, but everybody's got different connections, business, industry, some local foundations, state level support, federal support. So I think get the plan right, figure out what needs to happen, and then go to work on making that happen. I'll just have one final thing I'll say about that. I had a mentor who told me a good manager will take the budget that he's given and figure out what's the best way to disperse that to make the best impact that you can. He said, but a leader will figure out what is it that needs to change and then go find the resources to make that change happen. And I think that's what we have to do for the state in our community college system.
Got time for one more.
Please.
This is actually to follow up on what you were just saying.
Okay, great.
It's been a struggle for some years, of course, to get adequate funding from the legislature for your community college staffing problems, for those, for some of the equipment, for example, that you were discussing, some of those investments. Can you talk a little bit about what you think you can do that maybe your predecessors haven't been able to convince lawmakers to be a little bit more generous with the state money?
Sure. So the questions about funding and how do we generate more funding for our community colleges broadly. I would say this. First, I want to acknowledge some of the good work that our legislature and our governor have done in passing budgets that have given us some earmarks for these really hard to fill positions. I can tell you at Wilkes, we had some turnover with our nurses. If you're a nurse right now anywhere, you can do very well. The demand is so high and the shortage is so robust. So competing with nurses in the private sector to hire nursing instructors who have to have master's degrees, and it is really, really challenging. So, but we did have a special allocation from the legislature that we could earmark for some of these really, really hard to fill areas. That investment made the difference for us in being able to staff the nursing faculty or not. So we have to look at that, I think, acutely and think, okay, that was great, and it really helped, a shot in the arm for several instructor positions, but how do we begin to think about scaling that up? And what about all those other positions that are also critical that we weren't able to give those raises to? So I think broadly, I would say we have to be willing to kind of relook at our whole funding formula. I think we have some tweaks that we can make. I think bringing in those business partners, it doesn't all have to be coming just from the legislature and our governor. We've got business companies that are willing to invest in some of that really expensive equipment if they know it's going to be used to train their employees that they're going to be getting. So we've got private foundations and philanthropic groups across the state who are ready to invest in strategic ways. So I just think we got to zero in on that strategic planning, think about how we're going to take that plan from a plan to execution, and what are those specific areas that we need support. If we're going to have this great economy and continue to be number one in the state, it is going to require investing at a bigger level. And we've got to be able to have that open and honest conversation. All right. Governor, if you have any closing remarks or anybody else, I will take a seat. Anybody?
We thank the governor and Superintendent Truitt and Chris Jones for being here. We thank you for being here. You can see why we chose Dr. Cox. And let's give him one final round of applause.